Here with Coach Nimz as Demons get ready for the final of the Louisiana portion of the three-game conference road swing, and then back at home finally on Saturday against Corpus. But Coach, a couple final thoughts. We always kind of start these things like that. A couple final thoughts on that New Orleans game. A lot of great stuff that we saw, especially after those last two games, and even going back to Thursday's tough one against Southeastern. So good to see them bounce back to the way they did.
Yeah, I think it shows a lot of resiliency. Obviously, we had dropped two really close competitive games, one at home, one on the road. And so to travel to New Orleans and have a convincing win was really good. It's good for the girls. It's good for their confidence. And it's good just to for them to understand the toughness that it took. Obviously, to get a road win is always a big deal. Those are always really hard to come by, but to do it after two really close losses, maybe when the morale was down just a little bit, shows a lot of fight, shows a lot of promise for this group.
As we move into this week, I think part of the thing that you're working towards with this group and with any team is building that sort of consistency of taking a good performance like we had on Saturday and moving it into the next game. So how, what, why, all those things that you hope to see to carry a good performance over to the next week?
Well, I think it's as simple as what you just said. It's focusing on being able to capitalize on the things that we did well versus UNO, the toughness, the grit, the composure, the poise, the maturity that they showed, and correcting the things that we still did wrong. And so it's that growth mindset, and obviously it's something we're going to talk about all the time, definitely game to game, but showing that maturity when we step into practice. Every single practice matters, and we've got a really big week ahead of us. Obviously, McNeese headed down to Lake Charles, tough place to play, but it's also where we play the Southland Conference tournament, so what a great opportunity to practice on that home court, get used to that. But also just the toughness to understand McNeese is an incredibly good team. They've played everybody really, really hard. And we've got to go down with the mindset that game's ours. And go in with some confidence, but go in with a lot of fight, because it's going to take 40 minutes to beat that team twice.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into talking about McNeese. Very deceiving 0-6 record so far in conference. Obviously, we had the big win against them to open, but they played very well. They took Southeastern to overtime. What's been the difference that you've seen between that first game a couple weeks ago to what you're expecting to see on Thursday?
I think some of the players actually that we felt like we did a really nice job guarding have had some really big nights here down the stretch. There's a couple teams that maybe haven't won those games yet, but they're probably the best 0-6 team. I think right now the Southland Conference women's side is probably the strongest it's been in the 4 years that we've been in the conference. So any coach will tell you any team can be beaten on any given night, no matter the record. And so it's being able to focus on all the things that McNeese brings to the table. And it's a lot of outside shooting, it's a lot of length, it's a lot of defensive scheming. So we got to respect our opponent, and we got to go in and, like I said, just focus on that maturity from bringing things positive from the Saturday game into Thursday's game, but really also committing to correcting ourselves because although it was a great game, there's still a lot of areas where we can continue to grow and get better. I will just say Monday it was fun to watch a game that we can grow and get better off of a loss, try to impress upon them how much better it is to learn from a win than it is to learn from losses.
Yeah. Obviously, looking back on that first meeting, Carmelo was a huge part of that game, probably maybe more so defensively than offensively if I remember, but her play of late has been really very impressive. 8 assists on Saturday. She's been scoring double figures consistently, and her biggest the most play time she's had since she's been here. Obviously, injuries and things have kept her out. But what has been the sort of thing that's clicked for her over the past couple weeks?
I think consistency. Obviously, you alluded to it, but the young lady hasn't been able to play a conference season for us this entire time she's been here. So going on year 3, and this is the first time that she's been able to play these consistent back-to-back games, and you can see her game continue to grow and become more and more consistent. Big asset on the defensive end for us. Typically guarding some of the other team's best players. But while she's doing a big job on the defensive end, she almost had a double-double with 8 assists, 8 points the other night. And she's becoming really consistent around the three-point line. You know what she can do when she breaks someone down. But she's doing a better job of playing off too. Overall, I think her game's it's actually starting to grow and peak, and you're starting to see the Carmela Dean that we recruited, whereas in years past, she just hasn't had a good opportunity to really highlight that, barring her first probably 8 games prior to her getting injured.
How good is it going to feel to get back here on Saturday? I mean, regardless of who we're playing, obviously Corpus is a tough opponent. We can talk about that, after Thursday, but it feels like this 3-game trip has been longer than maybe some of the others. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, anytime you're on the road, it's hard, it's a grind. It always feels longer than maybe what it even is. But coming back home, coming back to Prather and being in front of our fans is obviously always such a benefit to us. Our girls really thrive here in Prather. They love the band, they love the cheerleaders, all the pump. I don't want to mess up a name, but just the entire support cast that NSU provides creates a great environment, and I think our girls really have a lot of fun with it, and they love to try to knock off that Whataburger.
And it'll be a little bit more exciting if we come away with a win on Thursday, right?
Bingo.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you. Welcome.